बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। नाज़रीन अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं हूँ ज़फ़र हाशमी और ये प्रोग्राम है वाइड एंगल इलेक्शन स्पेशल and we are doing this program as a election special, as a series of programs in connection with the elections being held in different states of the United States of America and especially in the Texas. और हम हैं इस वक्त ह्यूस्टन में और ह्यूस्टन में भी उसी तरह की फेस्टिविटी है, गहमा गहमी है और ज़ोर शोर है। इलेक्शंस हो रहे हैं और ये अर्ली वोटिंग का सिलसिला जारी है और डिफरेंट कैंडिडेट्स जो हैं, जो रिपब्लिकन्स और डेमोक्रेट्स जो हैं और उनकी पार्टी से जो नॉमिनेटेड हैं, वो अपनी कैंपेन चला रहे हैं। मुख्तलिफ अंदाज़ है दोनों का कैंपेन चलाने का, यानी डेमोक्रेट्स का और रिपब्लिकन्स का। इस पर भी हम बात करेंगे और आज भी हमने अपने प्रोग्राम में ऐसे लोगों को बुलाया है जो कि इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं, जो कि री इलेक्ट हो रहे हैं या वो नए सिरे से इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं। So we have very special and distinguished guest today also in my talk show Wide Angle. My first guest is Mr. Jeff Shadwick.
Thank you.
And he is judge of the 55th District Court and running for the second term. He is Republican. That's right?
Correct.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. And my second guest is Mr. Chad Khan. Chad Khan is a very active member of the community. He is a renowned politician. He is a Democrat, basically chairman Asian American Political Outreach Action Committee. Thank you very much, Khan sir.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया ज़फ़र साहब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम और thank you very much for inviting me and the guest on your TV to so that way our listeners they knows what's going on in our American politics.
And my third guest is Mr. John Shamudi. He is running for the judge for 247th Family District Court and he is Republican also. ये open seat पर लड़ रहे हैं. Thank you very much, John, for being with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hashmi. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. So I start with Mr. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jeff, how is your campaign going?
I think fine. It's hard to know since there's not any polling that's done for individual judge races, but I feel good about it. I'm getting to meet so many people. The most enjoyable thing is all the different communities we get to go out into. You know, how many opportunities do we have to come out and talk directly to the Pakistani community, the Mexican American community, Republicans, Democrats? You start to become very, very familiar with how
it's
big
also
and diverse.
Very interesting, you know, to meet with different segments of the society.
Absolutely. Normally when you're judge and you're not campaigning, you're just sitting in your office or on the bench receiving cases and hearing their cases, but it's completely different than stepping out into the community and getting to meet people. That's the best thing about politics.
Right, right. And especially for a judge, it's a very, you know, learning and interesting thing.
Yeah, unlike other politicians, many times we're not allowed to have communications with the people involved in our cases because we're supposed to be set apart. We're not supposed to be influenced by anything. And so there's a tendency by judges to become very isolated, just sit in our offices and read and then come out and issue rulings. And so the process of running for election is completely different for us. You know, your state representative, your governor, or somebody else might be in the community a lot, out shaking hands just because that's part of their job. They have to vote on things. They have to find out what people want. And that's completely different than what we do.
That's right. Mr. Khan, you have been involved in previously also in the last elections also and very actively involved in the elections. How do you see these elections? How these elections are different from the previous one?
No, actually this previous election was great too, and this election is going to be more better because we have a lot of voter registration. Both parties they come out very strongly and they register a lot of new voters. And Asian American Political Outreach Action Committee chairman, we went to a lot of you know, community meetings or community functions and we register a lot of new voters. So at the TV1, I really like to thank you for you guys to doing this kind work, to giving messages to people that are sitting at home to how important it is to get out to vote.
TV1 has really become a partner in this election campaign.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the role we can play effectively.
Exactly.
Mr. Judge Modi, what do you think a judge should be appointed or should be elected?
Oh, that's a controversial question, and you know, there are weaknesses I see in both
the system.
methods.
In the system,
yes,
right.
And you know, I don't believe there is a perfect system. You know, the obvious criticism to our current system
is that it tends to become too partisan. And you have a Democratic candidate and you have a Republican candidate, each courting the base of support in each political party. And as Judge Shadwick mentioned earlier, judges really have an obligation not to make statements about how they would rule on specific cases. And so we're injected into this partisan atmosphere, and it's kind of
and he or she should keep away from the public.
Right, right. Right, absolutely. So, you know, the base of the party that we seek a nomination for expects us to, you know, comment on certain issues that are important to the base of each particular party. So it is a little bit of a juggling act, and it's a little bit of a tightrope, the partisan system that we have. I don't believe that the system would be better if we had appointments. I think there are weaknesses in that route as well. So, you know, I would acknowledge there are limitations and there are deficiencies in our current system, but unfortunately, I don't think the alternative would be an improvement.
But I think in different other states, certain states, they have, not the system as we have. We have voting system for the judges, but in certain states they have the appointments are made by governor or on the basis of their qualification. Is it so?
Right. Well, I was originally appointed. There was a vacancy in my court, and when there's a vacancy during the year, when it's not election season, the governor does make an appointment, and so I had to make an application. It wasn't particularly political. I think that they picked me on my qualifications, at least I tell myself they did. I think that's true. But then when the next election rolls around, you do have to run. So here in Texas, we have a combination of an appointment and election system. Other states, once you are appointed, you don't run against another person. They just vote to retain you or to not retain you. And so there's not a partisan election, and there's not as much money raised, there's not as many campaign expenses, and I think that's what a lot of people find very distasteful about the way we do it in Texas. You get used to it, to be honest, but the fact is, the people who care the most about who the judges are the lawyers that practice in front of us, and so they're the ones that end up making contributions to one candidate or the other, or to both, and the system like that comes into a lot of, I think, very appropriate criticism.
Yeah, Mr. Khan.
Can I ask Judge a few questions if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Because that's one to I don't want to be anchor, but I like to.
No, you can ask.
Judge, tell us, our viewer, that what your court does.
What my court does?
Right.
I have what's called a civil court. Civil cases are lawsuits between parties, and it could be anything from simple car wrecks to malpractice lawsuits against your doctor. It could be a dispute that you have against a partner,
Right.
a debt to collect, a business that breaks up or sues another business. Any variety of things that just involve a lawsuit between two parties. That's what civil courts do. My particular court has no jurisdictional limit in terms of dollars. So we get the highest dollar cases in civil district court.
Mr. Khan, are you in favor of appointment of judges through voting or just appointment through the government and governor?
Well, governor, they can appoint when is an open position, when is no election, just like Judge John Shim is saying that. But in reference to about appointing a whole panel of judges, I'm not sure it's going to be work very good system. I think the democratic system will be the good way to be let the judges get elected, let their credential, their qualification, and all those things can speak, and let people who can vote for them, then whoever they like to, and that we live in democratic country. So I think that's a very good way to to elect those judges.
But I think at federal level, Mr. Samudi, at federal level they are appointed by the state government.
Right. And, there are advantages and disadvantages, essentially, in both methods. The thing that I find appealing about the election of judges is you're accountable to the people, and you're giving the people a chance to make their voices heard. You go through a political process whereby you know that you're going to have to face your constituents just like any other elected official. So I think that is an advantage. But as judicial candidates, we have to be careful, you know, because it's not like running for the legislature. You know, we have to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a position to where we comment specifically about issues that are going to appear in our court.
Let me ask you since your court have a it's open position, right?
That's correct.
So it means nobody was incumbent at your court. Right now, it's
Correct.
Democrat and Republican. They're both running to become a judge on your court, right?
That's right.
And what's your court does or do? Is
The functions of the court.
function of the court. Or
Yeah, the court I'm running for is a family district court, so we deal with family-related issues such as adoptions, paternity suits, child support, divorce cases. We do family violence cases, although we also have a designated family violence court, which is the 280th District Court, but there's a lot of family violence issues that still come up in all of the 9 family district courts. So just about any family-related issue is what we deal with. We also, in the 247th, have the only designated drug court among the family courts. So we have a specialty court there as well.
All right.
So,
So the discussion is on, and it's a time for break, Mr. Khan. So viewers, we take a break. Stay with us.